this early in the year, snow, you still kind of settling into this kind of weather? How do you like playing in the snow this early?
Good. It was good because it's going to give us practice. We went outside on purpose. We know we'll have some of this later in the season. Talked to the boys this morning, sent them a message that this is not punishment. This is practice for games coming down the stretch. And this is a judgment of mental toughness. Are you going to complain the whole time? Are you going to go out and give the hour and 45 minutes to your teammates and get back inside? I feel like those messages help this team just understand a little bit of the why we're doing things. And so I said, if you're going to complain, just stay inside and tell the trainers you're sick. But we had a good practice, I thought.
Can you talk about the development of your reserve slot guys, Joey
and
Lincoln?
Oh, yeah.
Joey and Lincoln, and just kind of how they've come along and how that's going to help out the offense, just having that many more options.
Yeah, it really – I mean, it was early in the season when I think somebody in the media asked about rotations, and it wasn't necessarily something we really did. But in the past, having guys like Joey and Lincoln who could play multiple positions in the slot or in the empty position, it's really given, especially with Travell, who's on all returns. Joey is on some kickoff and Lincoln too, but there's a real unselfishness in that group. If Travell needs one, those guys are on it. They self-substitute basically, and they understand that's beneficial to all of them and keeping them fresh. And it was good to see those two guys really get their first touchdowns as Cougs. Joey has got a real savviness about his spatial awareness, knowing where people are. I know that the speed he showed was good, and Lincoln, I don't know if you saw him zip down to get that block because he cares. That showed a lot of care for his teammate, but I think Joey's got some real spatial awareness where he made that first guy miss, kind of knowing where he was. But they work hard. They work hard every day, and I don't think it's an accident that they got some real production in that game. We need to get that way on the outside, and not that Strib or Donovan have done anything wrong, but we're seeing C.J. Moore coming along. We're seeing Zion Nunnally coming along, Grover, Mitch Quinn. We probably got to strive to get to a little bit more of that way on the outside. They do a little bit more long running in plays, and so that's something we're talking about this week too.
And on the receivers, I noticed looking through the stats that I think you guys from top to bottom are, one of the top to bottom most productive teams as far as like 6 guys are at or above 100 yards, and you got 3 in the top 10 in catches in the Pac-12. Is that something that you stress for your system, is having that many options, or is that something that's just kind of happened naturally just because of the talent you have?
Well, I would say it is part of the system. It's not a system where one guy can just be kind of put in the spotlight. I mean, you can, if you have a great player, you can try to isolate him and get him some plays, but it's really an unselfish deal, and there's usually more catches in the slot. You should have more yards per carry or yards per catch on the outside, but they got a great mindset, and I'm not sure what exactly the numbers say, but I think the receivers are playing their best football since we've been here. Obviously, the second half of last week, but 2 really good days of practice. Just high energy, high execution, and I'm excited to see him play again.
And then we're halfway through the season, 6 games in. How would you evaluate the team just at this point from the beginning to now?
We've improved, and that was the goal. The mental strength and belief to keep moving forward with some of those tough losses in the beginning, I think shows a ton of character of this team. A tribute to the leadership and the belief in each other. I think last week, I don't know if I said it or not, but I think that's exactly what this team needed. We got to win at Cal. It wasn't necessarily in question in the last few minutes of the game because it was a 2-score game, but for us to go back and forth with Oregon State, who is a good football team, and win one at the end, especially on defense, holding them, I think that's a real opportunity for us to I think it showed growth, and I think it gives us a standard to now kind of elevate that standard and what's next.
We've talked a lot about just kind of the rotation in general at guard, but more individually with Mache, how has he shown growth to you just by
confidence? I think he's shown a lot of confidence in spring ball. He's confident in the scheme. I think he's grown in confidence in his own ability. He's great. He's always been a great athlete. We've had a great opinion of him as a person and as his athletic skills, but I think he's starting to believe it, and being a contributor adds to that. Again, you talk about the unselfishness at wide receiver. O-line also has that with some of the rotation stuff we got going on. So really happy with his development, and looking into the future about, you got another guy that's going to be with us for a few years that has played well, and will be a factor in the future on the offensive line.
I know you want to keep the energy kind of consistent throughout the year, but can you sense that there's an uptick in that area? Just coming off 2 wins like that, kind of convincing.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, it feels good to win, and it wasn't by accident. These guys are continuing to work hard, and that's, you want to win, you want to get the wins, you want them to have a successful experience in all facets of their life. But yeah, I think it is a byproduct of getting some wins with their hard work, and that's a good place to be.
Looking at the Stanford coaches, I don't think you've ever coached against any of the head or David Shaw or the offensive defensive coordinator. What do you know about sort of this Stanford team?
Well, they're a big-bodied team. I think that's usually kind of their MO. Throwing the ball more than maybe I would have anticipated, but they're being efficient with it. I think they know who they are at wide receiver. The kid they lost, that was a tough injury. He was playing well. But they still got some guys who are making some plays, and I think the quarterback knows how to throw to these receivers. He's it's obviously a bigger target. But he puts the ball in places where they can kind of use their size advantage. It's not like some basic pass offense. They know what they're doing, and they're doing some good things. I like the running back. I think the running back's running hard. We saw him go however far he went, 80, 90 on USC, so he's got the speed to take it all the way. But he also he's got a toughness to the way he runs at the end of runs that we got to make sure we tackle him and get him down.
It's kind of an out of left field question, but is there
that's pretty standard for these press conferences.
Is there a player on either side that's kind of been the image of consistency throughout the year, maybe above all others?
Oh, I think there's plenty of them. Liam's one that comes to mind offensively. I know he gets talked about a lot, but I think he's improved as a player, as a leader, as a leader of that offensive line group. Really a good role model for those young guys. Defensively, Marnie Marsh is one guy that comes to mind. The edges, RJ and BJ. I think there's a bunch of guys that could fit in that category.
And I gotta ask, did you ever they ever give you like a time frame for the exemption thing or anything? Okay.
No.
So would you let us know when anything like that happens?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think a lot of people would get notified at that point. So.